Hello and welcome back to Gents Garage. Today we're going to continue with the ZXR. As you can see, I have got all the parts. I bought these dynamic indicators. I do like the look of them, although I wasn't too sure about them in the picture, but now they've arrived they do look quite good. Two of them there and another two in the box. I've got the rear brake cable, which is a transparent red just because you can see the braid on the inside, and this is for the rear. And of course this indicator relay, just because that does sound like it's on wear, but we'll do a comparison before I fit it. And last but not least, the horn, just because that has just stopped working, and I have tested the old horn, so it is definitely the horn. There is voltage getting to it, so it's absolutely fine. Last but not least, this ACF 50. This is just an anti-rust or corrosion, just to be able to spray down the clutch cables, as well as the throttle cable, just because it isn't returning as smoothly as I like. So I'm hoping to get enough down this, let gravity do the work, and it should return to normal. So let's get cracking. Here we are back at the bike, and the relay is located on the off side of the bike, which is the right hand side. The reason it's offside and near side, it's near side to the curb, and as I am in the UK, it will always be on the left hand side. Relay is located just on the battery, just here. Not too bad to take off. They basically have a rubber grip on the other hand side, which I'll just show you on the new one. So it sort of sits that way round, and there's a metal arm that sort of clips into this rubber grommet, and yeah, it just slides in there, so it's a case of just unplugging it and pulling it upwards. As you see, I've just pulled it upwards and it slid straight off. I'm going to do a test before, just so you can hear what a relay sounds like when it's on its way out, just because it has probably been standing around for a couple of years. So we just quickly test that, and it's literally at the start of the actual indicator sequence. It was at almost like a pating, and that is just a good way of telling you. I have been able to free that, just because it is an open and shut bridge like that. It seems to be getting stuck, bends itself a little bit, and then as it opens, it sort of wobbles around a little bit. So just get that quickly replaced and hear the difference on it. If I just show you a comparison of the old one, you can see there's actually a bridge on the outside. Not just that, you can see bits of blue and green, a little bit hard to show. If I can just get it to focus, you can see a little bit of corrosion starting to happen on there. They're not exactly the same shape either, one's a little bit bigger, and even the bottom sides, they don't quite look the same, which is a bit of a worry, but it should still work. I can see there's 3 pins on there, so we'll just double check it works once it's on, and fit the new one. As you can hear there is no noise to it whatsoever. It's dead silent. The only thing I can hear in person is the fact that I'm switching it from left to right. Let's just have another go. Beautiful. Just get that holder back on. The old one is still on there because it does sometimes get wedged or stuck, and that's what it looks like without the actual relay on it. Just 2 slots, bit of rubber, tends to do the trick. So now this is on, you should be able to just move it upwards and slide down. But after fitting it, it's always good just to double check your work, make sure everything's working correctly, and it is perfect. The next on the list, as it's quite easy to access, is this front horn just there. Got two connections, one for life for live, one for earth, and I do have an 8mm nut securing it, as the horn does come with the bolt, so it should be nice and easy to take off. I tend to take the wiring off before only taking components, just because it doesn't put any strain on it. You know, when you are taking them off, just give them a little wiggle, just to make sure they break free a little bit. And they should be able to pop off quite nicely. If you ever have multiple wires going to one component, you're not too sure, just take a picture beforehand, so then that way you can compare where they went. Though I probably should have tested it before actually trying. I just want to show you the difference, as of course, I'm sure you're wondering. Now, I have tried to play with this tiny little needle to try and get it to work. Unfortunately, it would just sort of wiggle itself off and it wouldn't make a difference. And that is me pressing the horn and absolutely nothing is happening. Once again, I have tested the voltage. All you need is a multimeter, press the horn, have it attached to there and there, and see what the battery's voltage is going to there. Get 12 volts to it or thereabouts, you know the connections are good to there. It's the actual horn that's failed. There she goes. So as you can see, there is a welded in end of a bolt just to keep it secure. I'll show you the new one and the old one together. I'm going to use the new one, but I do believe I will need that washer. It does come with its own bracket. Ooh, it does come with its own bracket. However, this won't fit this bike, so I'm just going to take it off, put the washer on top of it, and use the existing bracket with that washer. I will use the new nut, just to have a bit of consistency across the bike. Plus, it tends to match the terminals quite well. And once again, if I just show you the new and old, roughly the same. I have gone for black ones because I have decided I'm going to go with black and blue on this one. So I'm going to paint all the bolts, etc., just to make sure they all match. So if we just get this one off. But before all that, I'm going to just double check it actually works. Saves me taking it off and on again in case it is the parts that's faulting. I'm sure that'll be loud enough to scare anybody that cuts you up on the road. So once again, you'll need this about here. Put the washer on first because it stops it just from coming loose. If it does vibrate a lot, and as it's a motorbike, chances so you're going to get some vibration through the frame and chassis. There you are. New horn fitted. Once again, just do a post check test as well. Always good to double check your work. So as you can hear just there, after the post check, it had failed. So I had to continue testing just to double check the fault. So, and we're back. I've had a bit of a brain fart. So I am just testing the voltage to this. Now it is below the 12 volt magical number, just because I've had it on constantly, but you can see it is getting voltage. Although, it does keep changing. As you can see there, it is getting a 10.5, so I do wonder if it's just too low. But then as you can see there, it all of a sudden drops off, but I do wonder if just these connections aren't all the way in. But yeah, I am getting the response from it. So I wonder if it's just too low of a voltage. I'm going to put it back together, get it running, and then just double check the horn is actually working. I have just tried to start it, and unfortunately it is flat as a pancake. So I have this Sealy charger just connected there. It's just currently testing the battery to make sure it's okay. However, I'm going to leave it on charge for now, and then just retest it once I've got all the rest of the bits done. As it could be another fault altogether. It could not be the horn, so we'll just double check it once this is fully charged. Next on my list was this throttle it isn't returning the way it should. Now it does a little bit. How sometimes like that it does get stuck, so I'm just going to move that brake cable out of the way and get that housing off there, just to see how much crap is in there. Just get some ACF 50 down there as well, and hopefully with the gravity just running it along down the cable, it should be able to spring back a lot better. Just here, got two 5mm Allen keys just to move that brake out the way, and I'll be able to undo this housing, which does split into two, opens up, then we'll be able to get some ACF 50 down there and see if we can get it to return properly. That's two. Now we should be able to split them apart. Just going to readjust to make sure you can see properly. Here we are. As you can see just there, when you get it apart, there is a return spring just there to sort of wind around one side there and one side there. Now I don't actually need the springs themselves, so I'm going to take the back cover off. I see someone's been spraying some white grease in there, and the idea is just to be able to get some down there and then give it a bit of a play and some time. You should, right, switch it on would be always helpful. There we are. There we are, much better. So if I can just get enough down there to let gravity do some work. It is just droplets, as you can see there. And maybe just be able to get it around there. And just try as much as possible. Although I should have used a rag underneath there to collect any escaping liquids. I'm just going to do that now. Grab a rag, save some mess. Try and get as much as possible down there. And when we put it back together, you have to just twist and turn it, just so it can get it all the way down there. And I'm not too sure if it will work with it all uncovered. However, if I hold it together with my hands, I might get away with it. Yeah, hold that there. Try and slide this back in. There we are. Now if I just it is slowly making a difference. Like I said, if I can just do that a few times. Once again, just reapply. I'm going to try and hold it in place just so I don't have to keep putting it back together. Once again, use the rag. Always try and stop making a mess all over the place. Then a couple of turns. It seems to be turning quite nicely now. As you can see, it's quite straight back forward. It doesn't seem to be having any issues now. Manually try and get it down there. As you can see, it is slowly but surely snapping back the way it should. Give it a few turns. And if I try and get my hands out of the way, so I'll just show you properly, and it's snapping back. Lovely. So now we can put it back together and just test it again once it's all together. There we are. Now, just to double check my work. Oh, what side is it? It is snapping back quite nicely now. So it is back together. Was being an idiot, it's actually in the correct place. and now it seems to be snapping back quite well. There's no play in it whatsoever, and yeah, I'm quite happy with that. Just got to put the brake back in place, make sure it's at the right level as well. So just quickly do that, readjust, and now, beautiful, throttle turning the way it should be. On my list is actually these indicators. Now the battery is currently on charge, however I can see it's on stage 5 out of 7, so it's just checking itself to make sure it's going to hold charge. As you can see, the old indicators are just hanging off, always useful, and I know these aren't actually the original indicators, so I will need to just take off this wiring. I think I might just cut it to be done with it. Although they look like just simple plugins, but it looks like someone squished them all together, so that's a bit concerning. Yeah, won't know until I take them apart, I guess. Let me just get this off. Normally these indicators are attached by bullets. Now I didn't realise that because they had been squished, so the next part of the video is a complete failure, so I do apologise, but it is a learning curve. And we're back. So the new one looks like this, and the old one looks like this. I can say they're both Chinese because they've got the same colour wires. However, one side, from the old connections, it's got similar connections from what I can see. However, for some reason, these are, I believe, they're just push fits. For some reason, someone squashed them, I'm assuming because they kept falling out because they weren't a tight fit. And if that's going to happen, then there is really no point having these. So I think I'm just going to cut them off, strip the wire, and heat shrink them. That way I know it's a permanent connection, no water will get in, no rust, no corrosion, so it should be a lot easier. I believe this is actually a part of the bike itself, so it can sit flush. However, looking at this, I'm not too sure if it will fit quite right, just because of the bolt. Yeah, oh no, there we go. Oh, it seems to be quite flush, so we're going to go with that. And then yeah, we can just bolt it onto the other side, all this way. It should be alright on that sense. And then you just bolt it down. Might use a washer, even though these are self-grabbing nails, but yeah, I'm going to do the heat shrink in here just to make my life easier. So I'll do one side and I'll strip the wires back on the bike. So as you can see, these are my heat shrinks. Now the reason why I like to use this is you put a bit of wire halfway, put a bit of a halfway, crimp them either side, squash them together, and then these little edges, you do just simply put a bit of heat on them, whether that is through a blowtorch or even a lighter, to be honest with you. They sort of seal themselves around the wire so no moisture get in. Not just that, if ever those two widen up for God knows what reason, because they shouldn't, then this will actually be melted to the plastic casing of the wire. So as you can see, battery is fully charged. Well, you can't really see it, but hey ho. Now I'm assuming the yellow will be the live, so you just put that on the positive, put the other one on the negative. As you can see, that is nicely working. I'm just going to test the other one. Same principle. We'll flip it back upside down so we can see what we're doing. Lovely. I do like the dynamic, the way they move across. Beautiful. Just another two. I haven't even taken these out of the box yet. I'm assuming they'll be very similar. I'm not even taking them out of the packaging, to be honest with you. Just that. Yeah, lovely. Last but not least, beautiful. So I'm happy with them. Now I know they work. So, 2 red ones for each of them. I've got loads of them left, so I should be alright to get them done. All I'm going to do is chop off the wire at its closest point to that sleeve itself. There goes my warranty. And simply with these wire strippers, you put them in, and they are automatically adjusting, although you can adjust this to see how much length you get.
And when you're doing this, just make sure that it hasn't cut any of their wires, and then a good twist on the end should normally do it. And then all you need is some crimpers. So you slide one of them into the crimpers. Now it depends what size you have. I'm going to go with the biggest one. Now it doesn't need to be all the way either with these. And what you do is inside there is a little bit of metal. You do tend to just be able to hit the end of. Oh, and there she goes. Yeah, fixed in place. Hold it very tightly. Slide them in. Try not to get past that halfway point. And then simply squeeze really tight with these. Oh, and he says that and he can't do it. And then there you go. So it's a very similar principle to the others, but they're not sliding. And just give it a gentle pull on there, just to make sure they are nice and firmly seated. And once again, same again with the other side. Cut them off. Take off the skin, sheath or whatever you want to call it. Give them a good twist. And then slide them in. Get your crimper all the way to the edge, and then nicely does it. There you go, simply done. Now when I'm putting these on the bike, I am going to just double check I put the right colour to the right colour, and just simply do that by sliding them in, letting them touch the end, because once again they do have that piece of metal inside. Just let them touch in and that should do it. Also when you're crimping these, I do tend to do it the same way. So as you can see, the flat bit's now this side, so I try and create the flat bit on this side, just because if you do it like that and you go over on this side, it might open this one up and expose it to being able to slide out at any point. So it's just best to do it straight away. Now I have a blowtorch, etc. A couple of other things that I could heat shrink these with, but as I'm sure most of the people doing this won't actually have all the equipment, I'm actually going to use a lighter just to show how easy it is, even when you haven't got all the workshop equipment. Just sort of how it looks. It does take a while longer, whereas as you can see, just a normal blue lighter. And what you do is just try and get it near. Slowly but surely it's going to shrink round. Might get a bit of smoke off it, so just be very careful. It's probably best just to, almost like a rotisserie dog. About my glove, not an issue. Yeah, just keep turning it, it will stop it from smoking up, etc. Not just that, you can see on the inside now, it's actually stuck itself down. So now it will be watertight, shouldn't have an issue going forwards. And yeah, just continue that process for all 4 of them. I'm doing this on a workbench just because once I get it to the bike, it's a bit of an awkward angle, whereas my workbench is about work height for me. A little bit taller than average. That just gives me an opportunity to save my back, especially in this trade. You tend to do a lot of bending over. So it's probably best just to keep turning. Watch it seal itself on the edges especially. Try and not get close to the wire. Now, this is not recommended. Of course, you're meant to use a heat gun or a blowtorch or something like that. But if you genuinely haven't got anything else, trying to, yeah, just be very cautious. As you can see, 2 burns almost got me. But I can see it's not quite sealed off on one side, so just keep going around until it is. Want it to be as watertight as possible. Save future problems down the line for myself or another rider. And it just, yeah, causes less problems that way.
So I now have the battery connected, and I'll just switch on the bike. Assuming black will go to black, or black and yellow in this case, and the green will go to the live. Probably can't see it because my hand's in the way, but dropped one of the wires out. There we are, working correctly as you should. So now we know green to yellow, black to black. And we're back to correct my horrible mistake. So these are bullet connectors. As you can see just there, one side is male, which is this side, and one side is female. And basically what happens is they get slid inside and it gives them contact. The reason why they're used for these indicators is so it's nice and easy to change them if anything goes wrong, or take off the fairings. So what we're going to do is, we're going to do this side as the male side. So I'm just going to chop them off again, strip the wires. And essentially what you do is, once they're in, put the wire in just that little bit. And these two, once you put them into the grippers, they squish themselves and hug the wire really tightly. And that way, they will have a nice firm connection and they shouldn't slip out. So let's try it. So I've had to push them in a little bit just because the crimper wasn't sitting correctly, and as you can see those little arms are now a little bit further in, and one side of the crimpers almost has a W. I'll try and show you very quickly. A W at the top, and one side is larger than the others, so you will need to try and get them in there, get them about right, just gently grip them and then slide the wire through just enough to be there. You can check it on the other side, make sure it's sat flush. Oh, there she falls out. Yep, just there. And once you're confident that they're in, you do crimp them and they almost hug themselves inwards. At that point, should just hug around the wire. Oh, and I've gone way too far in. This is probably a bad example, but the wire is very far in and the wire needs to be on that second pair of hands. First bit is just for the wire itself, so it holds it so it's nice and tight, and then the second part of the connection is meant to be the wire itself. So we just got to go do that again. Second time lucky, the third time if you include the failures on the heat shrink. It doesn't need to be a lot of wire. So normally sit quite well in there. So once again, I've just had to push them in with a pair of pliers just so they sit in the crimpers correctly. So if you just lightly squeeze them in to both of the arms. Once again, one side of these crimpers is slightly bigger than the other, so you need to make sure it's in the right way. And then holding it very gently, just need enough on there to be able to just squash them in like that. And probably can't see this, but now it is hugging correctly. Let's try and get some more light on the situation. They are now hugging the wire stops just before that second pair of arms, and that is where the wire's crimped itself. So now just to do this 5 more times, I have already connected one of these onto the bike itself, so I'm going to do it at the bike rather than on the workbench, unfortunately. But you don't have to. Make sure you can do it just to save yourself a bit of aggravation and being in awkward places more than anything. So all three are done. My recommendations for these, if you are going to have a go, is get these in place. Get these little terminals in place and just sit them inside the machine. That way, this is holding one. You slide the wire into one and then slice it, crimp it, sorry. And also make sure you put the sleeves on beforehand just to make yourself a little bit easier, and always include these just because they do make them watertight. Stops the dirty connection happening further down the line. So now just to do the ones on the bike, and then we'll be able to put the rest on. Back on the bike now. I have already taken off the outer casing of the wires just to save myself some time. However, I'm going to walk through this again. I have now adjusted them correctly. Just going to slide them into there. Hold it with that so it starts to hold them. And just ever so slightly. Ooh. He says that, didn't even twist the wires. Twisting the wires is helpful because then the strands don't hit the edges. Just gives you a nice smooth fit when going in there. So you can try that again. Slide them back in and just crimp. Should be alright at that point. Once again, just give them a gentle tug just to make sure they're safe and connected. And we have also put the billets on the indicator side. That way the next person doesn't make the same mistake as I do and has to replace all of it all over again. So the new indicator should come with the billet side, and if you're fortunate and the previous person hasn't destroyed the female side of the billet, you should just be able to swap them around. As you can see just there, it's absolutely fine now. Once again, I'm just going to check it's actually going black to black, I believe. And then, ooh, he says hopefully, and then the yellow to go. Oh, did he turn it on? Ah, it's on, is it? Maybe it's the other way around. Well, that's a bit concerning. So I'm going to put it on anyway because it might just be not connecting together correctly. Then we've got the female side of things. Once again, same principle. Get one of the wires, he says, not even twisted. Just to make life easier trying to get those wires into the female connector. And with these, just make sure they're sitting correctly, and you can see it from the other side where the female side of things is. You can see a little bit sitting over. So if we just slide it in there, like that, should be about right where that side is not fastened itself together correctly. So that's what I was talking about, doing it on the bike in comparison to doing it on the workbench. A little harder to do it on the bike, just because there's less space and you're working in a tighter angle. But hey ho, managed to get it done in the end. Now, last but not least, slide them in. Crimp away. There you are. Now, just to double check they're actually working correctly, slide one into the other, slide the other one into the other. Technically, it should work. I know it's a little bit difficult to show, but they are now working. So it is black to black and green to yellow. The only thing I've actually forgotten, which I can see right now, is actually putting these sleeves on. So So we're going to have a go on just being able to slide them over. I was able to do it on the others, so it wasn't too bad to do. And basically there is a larger end and a smaller end. The smaller end goes backwards. And if you ever do forget to do this when you're there, just slowly rotate them. It should help rather than pushing it. Just because when it does push it, you tend to put a little bit too much pressure on that joint. And that's when you can break them, and you've got to do all your hard work all over again. As you can see, that managed to slide over the top of it. Perfect. Now just to do the other one, and the female side as well. However, that female side does look a little bit bigger, so I'm a little bit concerned to see if I can get these sleeves over. I know this billet side's quite easy, nice flush fit. Just keep sliding and twisting and turning. It should eventually get to the end. At that point you can give it a bit more pressure. Once again, just be very gentle with that connection, and because it can cause you problems further down the line. Did have a bit of an issue getting these on, I'm not going to lie to you, and what I did was simply crimp this female side in together so they sort of went under each other. However, once you do get that under, you're then going to have to force this just so they expand a little bit, but they have managed to work. So if I just put this last one on, it should be okay. But yeah, don't do what I did, put them on before you put those female and male ends on to save yourself the trouble. So here, just slide this one in. Push them in as far as possible with a good connection, and simply just double check, and you see where this sleeve sort of sits in the other sleeve, so you get the male side sleeve just water tightening around there. It should be okay. Just double check your work. Does it work? Perfect, it does indeed. Right, 3 more to go. So as you can see just here, the rear ones are actual bullet connectors that do fit. Now, my only issue with this is they're very loose. So I'm tempted just to redo the connections while I'm here anyway to save myself the trouble further down the line. My only concern will be they're not very long wires. That shouldn't be an issue. I think I've got enough on the new indicators to still slide under and go all the way up, as you can see there. So I'm just going to get this old indicator off. Looks like a bolt on the other side, but should be able to get it done quite quickly. So all I've done is thread these wires back through the little hole just there, and I have got a ratchet spanner on them. However, as you can see just there, it seems to be spinning the whole indicator, so I don't think it's going to come off that easily, but I'm trying not to damage that rubber on the other side because I don't know if it comes with it. Oh, there we go, seems to have crack free. And all you do is simply thread that ratchet spanner. Now a normal spanner will do, just take a while longer to get them undone. I haven't got the ratchet mechanism helping you out here in your time of need, but it shouldn't be that much of a problem. But once again, you might need to hold this to get that bit off. Oh, seems to have done it. We've got a washer on this side. And once again, just try and thread that back off, and that's what it looked like. How you can see they've been snapped, they've gone rusty and corroded. Even this nut itself doesn't look very good. The harder part is getting these bullet throughs. However, I'm not going to mess around. I know I'm getting rid of when the ones are here. So, save myself the trouble. Chop straight through there. Bish bash, job done. Now with these new ones, there is a rubber just down here. I'm just going to reposition the camera just to show you. So just here, it's a little bit of a rubber grommet, and you're simply going to have to slide through the 2 bullets, get them through to the other side. It should hold quite well. I've got my nut here as well. Just double check what size it is as well. Mine seems to be a 13 or a 14, not a 13. 14, yeah, spot on. As you can see just there. you're going to have to simply thread it up the nut, up the wires even. Get it on the inside and just start the thread up. He says that, but can't seem to find the thread. I think with these they're a little bit shorter thread wise, so it is a little bit tight. However, the rubber bushing will be squashed by the nut, so I'm hoping that'll be enough. So hopefully if I can get this up onto that nut itself. Now remember, hold the indicator, just because you don't want to be faffing around with it. Oh no, it's fallen off, not good. Put that on the floor for a second, squash that in, try and get it on the first few bit of threads by hand. I can feel that's quite tight now. Just remember holding the indicator so it goes there, just so it points that way, and that way you know it's going to be dead level. Otherwise when you start tightening it with the spanner, it's going to slowly twist and turn all the way around it and it'll be pointing upwards, and that's not very helpful, unfortunately. Right, righty tighty. Thread that up there, holding it as much as possible. There we are. I can feel it getting tighter now, so I'm going to go too overboard. As long as it's actually on the thread, yeah, dead straight that way, and then we can just last couple of nips. Beautiful. And once again, just unthread the ratchet through the wires if I can get it off, and then simply to get these back through, there's a tiny little hole just there at the top of the screen. I'll try and move up now because we don't need to show the whole thing. Just there. Simply, I tend to use orange gloves because you can see them much clearer, so I can actually see my glove before I get there. Fill the hole with my index finger and then pull one through, and same again, just try and get it located first, make yourself easier for you, thread it through, and there you go, 2 wires straight through. That seems to go under the actual frame because there is a seat here, or the fairing should I say, because this is sort of the back of the seat onto the fairings. And now technically, there should just be a bullet connector, so I'm hoping they're the same size, so I can just quickly test it before I make my mind if I want to replace them. And yeah, no, seems to have gone through. I'm not quite happy with that, so we'll be replacing them just to make sure they're the same. Plus that way it's a brand new connection, so even if there is slight corrosion in there, it gives me a brand new connection, so I won't have any issues. Can I get that through? Ooh, it's very tight. Like I said, I just wanted to test it to make sure it's working, but it doesn't seem to be going all the way through. I've had to take the actual cover off just to get it in there, but I don't want to bend my new connections. They seem to be both touching. Just switch the bike on, hit the left indicator. Oh, lovely. I just quickly spin it round. There we are. As we know, it's good and working. If I just show you a quick comparison, that's what the old one looks like. Almost a love heart shape. And now these look a bit meaner in my opinion. Plus the actual sequential dynamic indicator thing. Absolutely love it. I know the Audis have it quite a lot, so lovely jubbly. So I've just tried to take one of them out and it snapped off completely. Probably a bit too much force. Oh, thank God for that one. At least I don't have to redo one of them. As you can see, as I've pulled it, I haven't been actually holding to the metal connection and it's pulled it off the wire, so I do have to just quickly redo this one as well, which is always brilliant fun. And I've seemed to have locked the sleeve off it as well, so I won't forget to put that on first. So let's just quickly get those done. However, I might speed this just to keep this a little bit shorter. Now I know it does work.
So I've discovered a little problem while I was just testing the right indicator. When I'm hitting the right indicator, the left one is working. It's the same on the front. However, I do think it's just because it's a voltage surge, because these LEDs are so much lower. I'm just wondering when I've actually replaced this one, it should then hopefully stop using that one. Only one way to find out, unfortunately. So as you can see, I'm still having the problem. When I turn right, all the indicators seem to work, and when I turn left, only the left ones work. So I wonder if it's just because that last one's on there, but I do need to just double check once I've done it, just to make sure I haven't messed up the whole system. Should be interesting. Houston, we have a problem. So it seems because they're LEDs, the voltage isn't enough to switch over the relay, and now from left to right they both work no matter what. So I'm just going to have to do some tinkering to see if I can get them to separate. I might try the old relay even though it is half broken, just to see if it makes a difference. If not, I definitely need to do some googling to see what I can do about it. Might need a reducer or something like that. We shall see. So it looks like I have two options. I can either get an LED flasher unit for this bike, however they seem to be scarce for this exact bike, so I'm a little bit worried. However, you can get a resistor for these, which should correct them, and instead of getting this both direction, it should then correct one direction, I'm hoping. So I'm going to order them, as they're only like £8 for them, and then we'll have another go at it. So next on my list is this horn. Now we have fitted it. Now I tried it this morning and it actually started working, so I'm wondering if it's actually a dodgy connection more than anything. I know the ends are absolutely fine. I'm just having... Even with me playing with them, it doesn't seem to change it much, but when you follow the wires down here, and the connectors are actually here, so I just want to double check those connections to make sure it's okay, and then trace the wires further back wherever they make the lead. So these are the connectors, I believe. They sort of run around into the frame, and from here with my other arm is, and then they sort of run to here, all the way down here. And this is where it is. Now I'm just going to do, as I like to call, a wiggle test. See if there's any dodgy connections. And you can always just check what wires they are, although I can't see it. I'll just get a torch on them. They seem to be a whitish pinkish and a black and grey. So white and pink, black and grey. Seem to be in this block connector just here. So if we just take them off and see the connections, just to make sure they're all right. And if not, I'll have to trace the rest of this lane, which does look like a bit of a headache. No, it does not. Bit of a concern. Can't see any shaping around the loom itself. Wondering if these pins are a little bit green inside. Doesn't seem too bad. However, we're just going to get some electrical cleaner. Let's see if I could just clean some of that grime off to see if it starts working. This is what I like to use. It's called Turn Clean from Normfest. And it is just a very good electrical technique. Plus you get a good little brush on it, which gives you an idea just to be able to clean in there while you're there. And you don't need a lot of it. So as you can see there, just give it a nice clean. If not, I might have to take the pins out individually. It was just more a case of I want to actually make sure that this is where it's causing me the connection issue. Maybe it's just not getting enough voltage, or just a loose connection. So I just want to make sure, give that a second to dry.
It's quite fast drying luckily, and as you can see it's starting to go this sort of whitish colour just from where it's drying. So now if we turn it on, nothing at all. What about now? No. Absolutely nothing. So I do wonder if it's just further down this wire. And the problem is this sort of leads round here and all the way down there, so I just want to double check all those connections while I'm here as well. No. Yeah, I think the best bet is just to take them all out and just to make sure that they're all tight.